Hey everyone, Josh here. So today we're doing a BEW timing belt kit. So that's the belt, idler, tensioner, water pump, and that's it. So it's really not that bad, but the hardest part is kind of getting it to the point where you can take the belt off. Okay, so the one we're doing, it's in car, but here's a BEW I have on the floor here. So you have your cam gear here normally, your tensioner, water pump, the idler, and then the dampener obviously has to come off. But it's really not bad. The worst part's getting it to this point on the Mark IVs. The bracket here for the motor mount is a bit of a pain, and it's a bit of a trick to get out. So as far as parts, I got an INA kit here. So it's an INA belt, Litton's tensioner, INA idler. We got the hardware for all of that, all of the one-time use mount bolts, and then a GEBA motor pump. It also comes with a new serpentine belt, so nice and easy. Now, as far as timing tools, I use the Metal Nerd crank lock and the L pin, and you only need VCDS or a scan tool to be able to set the timing because it's adjustable. I don't have it here, but it's on slots, so you can adjust it advanced or retarded. So you need VCDS to make sure it's 100%. So we need to get into this side here. So obviously you got to take your charge pipe off. So it's got a clip down there, and depending on the style here, normally you've got a clip up here, but this is an ALH intake. So we'll get the charge pipe out. We'll get the coolant ball out of here. You got a bit more room down in here. We're gonna have to move the power steering fluid to get the mount out of there. And then underneath here, we're going to take the charge pipe off of here yet too, probably. It's not too bad to remove, so we'll get that popped out yet too. So up first, we're gonna get the coolant out of here, so just drain it from here. It's not gonna be able to get it all, but it's gonna get most of it out. It will get a bit of a mess when you pop the water pump out, but as long as we get most of it out. And then this is a good time to change the coolant because it's all out. It's also a good time to do the water pump, or not the water pump, the thermostat. So that's an additional add-on. That's kind of up to you. If it's up to temperature, fine, then maybe keep it in there, but kind of sucks to change all this stuff, and then in a year from now you gotta drain all the coolant again to do the thermostat. So it's up to you on that one. So first we're gonna get these lines out of the way. Just tuck them obviously out of the way. I'm doing an injector reseal here as well, so I'm gonna pop the fuel lines off, just make life a little bit easier. You can probably leave it on there and kind of shimmy this around, but then it kind of makes it a bit of a pain for restarting it, especially if the tandem pump's not working. So use your discretion on that. If you're taking them off, mark them which ones go where, and then same thing, I'm just gonna tie it over there and then pop the intake off. Okay, so depending on your clip style, if you got this style top and bottom, you just have to stick a screwdriver in this little spot, and that's gonna open it up and spread those tabs apart. Kind of like that if I had a bigger screwdriver, but these clips kind of sucks. They do wear, but they're nice and easy to take apart. Okay, so I'm not a fan of taking apart more stuff than what you have to, but for one of those things I will do is take the reservoir, at least move it. That way you're not constantly having to move it around. So a little 5mm Allen down there holds it on, and then what I'll do is lift it up and kind of tilt it ahead so that most of the fluid will go to the front of the reservoir, and that way I'll undo this clip here and then basically tuck this line in behind the intake, and this one I'll just tuck over here somewhere. Once that's out of the way, you can get at that clip down there for the coolant reservoir nice, and then these screws look nice and easy to get out, so we'll pop that right out of there. It's a good time to kind of check inside. If you have a bunch of crud inside your reservoir, you can wash it out or change it, but the coolant is nice and pink on this one, so I'm not too worried. So you're starting to kind of see where we're going here. It's not too bad. One thing I do not like already is this mount. So you can visually see it's cockeyed. The other issue, the glare from the light's too bright, but you can see it's shifted here, and you can actually see same thing here. What'll happen, so this has got 410,000 kilometers, so it's gonna have 2 or 3 belt changes already, maybe an engine. If you reuse these bolts and you don't do the right torque spec, you can strip this engine mount out. I've had it happen to me before, and for some reason I want to say it's a weird thread pitch, like it's 1.75 instead of a regular 1.5, or maybe it's vice versa. But anyways, so I've got helicoils, but that aren't the right size for the original Volkswagen hardware, and I've been meaning to get some, but I don't have them. I might be, this one just might not have been tightened when it was reassembled, but we'll see here shortly. I'm gonna get the bottom side cleaned up here yet, and then gotta get the jack on the oil pan. So now as far as underneath, it's not really rocket science. Gotta get the serpentine belt off, so just a 16 mil wrench on this tab here, loosen it off, old belt off. Then next thing is going to be the charge pipe. So these BEW, you got more of these clips here. We got a clip here and a clip in behind the inner fender here. So same kind of deal, flat screwdriver, open her up, and then you can pull it apart. And then you got a 10 mil up here. A lot of times these are broken, which this one was as well. So it is what it is. I don't have a spare one of these, but we'll put it back together as best we can. And it's also a good time to check your ears on the couplers down here as well. A lot of times they will leak. Okay, so up next we're getting this crank dampener off of here. So we got 4 Allen bolts already out. The issue is if you're in salty areas, this gets seized on there. So tap it there and kind of get it wiggling. You don't want to pry on this back plate very much because it's going to bend and you're gonna have holes poked into it. Normally they're supposed to have a rubber plug on here, kind of keep some of the road debris out, like this one here. So if you got this here, then you just get in here with your screwdriver and just pop it out. And hopefully if you've got the plug on it still, it should come off a little bit nicer, but you never know. Okay, so I got the bottom dust shield off. This top one, it needs to come straight out, but it's hitting the tensioner pulley here. So we're gonna pop the tensioner off, just 3 bolts up top, get it out of the way, and then this should come out nice and easy. So we're looking pretty good here now. The next thing you might wanna do is take the mount off, but I prefer to get it set to top dead center where it needs to be before we have this engine just hanging on a jack. And then I'll take these off so it's less sketchy and you're not underneath there with an engine that's just supported off of a jack. Personal preference, but you can do whatever you want to do. So to get this set to top dead center, the crank rotates 2 revolutions, for the cams 1 revolution. So when the cam is locked correctly, that's where you need to be. Whereas if you're going to use the crank to set time, this can be setting at the 7 o'clock is where you need it, but it'll be there once for top dead center on compression and top dead center on exhaust. So you need to make sure the cam is actually in the right spot. So this jagged little window here is usually about the 12 o'clock mark, and then the timing tool, the pin will go through here into the head. So here's this pulley. So the bolts are sitting here like that. That's your jagged window. That would be about the 12 o'clock mark. And then this is the timing window. You look through, and on the back side you see your pin will slip right through there. It's going to go into the head. Nice little spot right there for it. So the ALHs, like the fuel pumps, you could be just to the one side or the other and you think you've got it locked, but the pin's actually just sitting right here. So you want to make sure you're actually lined up nicely with this. You see this one's all kind of marred up from people trying. So what I like to do is get it close to top dead center, crack these guys loose, and then just put them snug. And then I'll get the crank locked where it needs to be, and then use a mirror, either a mirror on a stick or your wife's makeup foldy thingy, or girlfriend or boyfriend's, whatever. Look through there, make sure the window's lined up where it needs to be, and then put the tool in, because it needs to be 100%. It's the timing tool goes in really tight. So we're gonna get this moved over, get it timed, and then get this mount out of here. Okay, so we got the tool on here. So this threaded, you got threaded ports here and non-threaded ones here. So the bolts go through the non-threaded parts. The little nib goes in this bottom guy, and then your pin, you only can't see it right now, but it'll go into the front main housing there. So we're pretty close. Got my helper wanting to talk. And then up top here, can't quite see with this tool, but we're using eyeball, we're not too far off. So what I'm gonna do here right now, so I'm gonna take your ratchet. I don't have the crank lock in right now, it's just sitting there. So loosen that off, loosen this one off here. And then we'll snug those back up. There we go, so loose, just snug. They do make the tool, I think they call it the nut buster, where they hold it in there. You can crack those loose without having to worry about moving it, but don't need to be busting nuts everywhere. So then we'll go back under here. And I'll just bar this over till we have the, see if I can do it with my knee. Maybe not. So 19 mil 12 point. Box end of a wrench will work. I can't film it while I'm doing this, but I'll just turn it over till that pops in and then we'll check out what the top looks like. Okay, so with the bottom timed, we'll look through this window. You can see you got the pulley, you've got the hub, and then the head is that perfectly round part. And I gotta say, we're pretty well spot on. If you're not spot on, you can put the pin in here, just crack these loose, and then just turn, put an 18 mil on here and just bump it ever so, and then it should slide in. Okay, so even though it looked like it was 100%, the timing tool won't slip in. So I've got the one out, I got these two here loose. I'm just gonna kind of bump it slowly until it slips in. There we go. It's usually not that bad, but yeah, if you can get it pretty well 100% spot on and then just bump it just ever so slightly one way or the other, should be good. But now it's locked. Now we're ready to get this mount out and loosen the belt off. Okay, so a 2x4 or a 2x6 on the oil pan. Now we're set to take the top apart. So then you've got 16 mil, 16 mil, 18 mil, 18 mil, 13 mil, 13 mil. We'll get this top off and then we'll worry about this bottom mount. Okay, so the threads actually are perfectly fine in here. They just weren't, the bolts weren't tight. So I'm happy about that. I don't need to worry about helicoiling it. So next, the worst part is getting this mount out. That's probably the worst part of the timing belt experience. I'm not sure why. Sometimes it takes me 20 seconds. Sometimes it takes 20 minutes to get it shifted up and out. So we're gonna see how this goes. So it's a bunch of 16 mil head bolts. We got one in this hole here, one just underneath that ear, and then one from underneath. So deep socket, shallow socket, you're gonna have to kind of have a bit of an assortment. We'll get it unbolted. And for some reason, I wanna say you wanna go up and ahead with it, but I don't remember. Later cars like the BRMs and on, they figured out to run the mount farther ahead so that the belt doesn't actually loop this one. You can actually get the belt out without taking this off, so that makes life a lot easier, but these ones are not like that. So get this loosened off and we'll see how it goes. Okay, so I've went up with it. Fairways there now. So the mount, up like that. Just like that. So up and then pull it ahead a little bit. May not look like it, but we're on the home stretch. So now we've got all our locks locked in right now. That tensioner should spring back. There's loosened off. I'm gonna get this idler out of the bottom here, and then yeah, we'll get the belt tensioner off, and then the one thing I want to talk about with the water pump here yet. Okay, so this water pump, they're not actually too bad on these ones. So they get stuck in there, the O-ring gets stuck into the steel. Sometimes people put it together with that black like aviation sealant and it really gets stuck in there. So you can give it a whack down there. The other thing you can do is get in here with a pry bar and just pop it out. So you're gonna want to make sure you got your drain pan underneath, but I can never seem to catch it all. So it's all gonna end up on the floor here anyways. There's just 3 bolts too, by the way. Okay, so you're gonna want to clean up that O-ring sealing surface with some emery cloth. Brake clean any belt debris and the rest of the coolant out of it. So this stuff, it's always kind of interesting seeing when it was done last. So this is an OEM Volkswagen plastic water pump. The tensioner is 09. So that is, well, it's 2024 right now, so that's 15 years old. This idler, the bearing's about to fail in it. It's pretty loose. And then the belt, I'm pretty sure it says Volkswagen Deco. I'm fairly certain that's an 07. So this was probably serviced at the dealer when it was new and then never again, so, or when it was newer. It's a good time to be doing this stuff. Okay, so we're ready for reassembly. So a lot of the times these boxes, they'll come with install instructions or you scan that QR code, but somebody stuck a sticker over top of it and I can't get it to read right. So basically, here's all the torque specs. So water pump's 11 foot-pounds, no torque turn. Idler for the nut will be 15 foot-pounds. The cam bolts are 18 foot-pounds. The tensioner will be 15 plus 1/8 of a turn, which we'll go over that when we go to tension it here. Engine mount to block, so that's those 3 on that mount that's hard to get out, is 33. The mount to body is 30 foot-pounds plus 1/4 turn, and then mount to mount is 74. Then the harmonic balancer, I don't always torque them, but 7 foot-pounds plus 1/4 turn. So really not rocket science for reassembly. On the water pump O-ring, put a little bit of coolant, like wet the O-ring, or put a little dab of, I use like white synthetic grease sometimes. They should go in nice and easy. These tensioners, what I'll do is double nut them, so run 2 nuts in together, and then you can just throw a socket on there and run the tensioners in so they're snug. And then yeah, it's not really rocket science. So we'll kind of get ready, get all this stuff kind of put in, and we'll go over some helpful points here with the tensioner and getting the belt on. Okay, so we got the idler. I don't think you can see it here. Idler's down there. Nut is just snug. This nut here as well, it's tight as you can get it with the fingers. So you need to make sure that tab is in the plastic there nicely before you tighten it down. So it's just hand tight right now. So it comes with a little triangle tool. If it doesn't, you can use like a pick or something like that, and there's a little slot you can stick it into. So once that's done, you grab your Allen bit, kind of hold that in there, and then rotate it clockwise, and then snug that nut up. So what that's gonna do is that rotates it farther back yet, so it gives you more slack to be able to get the belt on. Now we're gonna get the belt on. We're gonna try and get as much slack on the back side between the cam and the crank, right in between this tensioner. So that way when it gets tightened up, the pulley doesn't rotate, the top pulley doesn't rotate a bunch. So we got that pulley pretty well centered. So again, we'll just slide the belt on. We'll get as much slack to the back as we can. And then we're gonna leave this loose and we'll tension it. Okay, so the belt is on right now. I don't have the idler torqued yet. These are still loose. So now we're going to release the tension on the tensioner, pull the pin out, and then we're going to retension it. And making sure we keep this loose, because as a tensioner tightens back here, we want all this slack up here to rotate and get taken up here, because the bottom is locked solid, whereas this lock here is only locking the cam and the hub. It doesn't actually lock this gear. So it's gonna look something like this. So we'll put the Allen on there, so that way it doesn't just spring back and wreck your new tensioner. Go up. Got that out of there. Now comes to the fun part of tensioning it. I'm using the wrong size here, I think. There we go. So there's a window. I'll show it after, but there's a window like a V and then a pointer. So you want to keep rotating it till that pointer is in the middle of the V. And sometimes if you've got this too tight, it's going to be hard to turn. Something like that. Perfect. Okay, so now we go around and torque everything. So these, I'll just snug them up until I have got the lock tools out. So this one, I'll just torque whatever the torque spec was there. Tensioner is 15 plus an 8, so I'm going to torque the 15 foot-pounds, but I'm not going to do the 1/8 of a turn. I'm going to do just that 15. I'm going to torque the bottom. Then we're going to do 2 revolutions and then make sure that the timing's all still set. If we're still good, if the tensioner is good, then we will do the last torque turn, because that's when it does the stretch. I'm a little tight on the indicator here, but we'll see what it's like after I do the 2 revolutions. If I need to loosen it off a little bit, I can. Yeah, I like kind of torquing everything at the end with the torque wrench. That way you know you've done all of them. You don't kind of forget which ones you have and haven't done. So I'll throw the torque wrench on here now and we'll do our 2 revolutions. Okay, so the 2 revolutions are done. So you want to make sure you're rotating it from the crank and that you're going clockwise. So that way, as you're rotating the crank, it's pulling the belt this way. So all the slack will be on the back side. That's just normal engine rotation. Don't go backwards, go clockwise. So we got the 2 rotations. My tensioner is just to the, pointing to kind of towards the front of the window. I wouldn't want it any tighter than that, but I'm happy with it. And then I checked in here and the hole, it's, I'm gonna say 99% of the way there. So we're probably gonna have to adjust this afterwards anyways for torsion value. But for right now, I'm happy. So we're gonna do our last torque turn on here, and then it's just reassembly. So I'm not gonna include anything on that. It's not really rocket science. Okay, so checking torsion value on group 4 there. It's sitting at 0, so that's either we're 100% top dead center or you got a bad cam sensor. So I should have checked codes before I started this, but I'm hoping I'm just 100% on top dead center. So I'm gonna like get it up to temperature 100%, check the coolant, and then I'll try and bump the timing. I think I'll go advanced just a hair. Okay, so I've got the 2 bolts loose and one's just snug here now. And we're just gonna bump this center gear ahead, or the center bolt ahead, just a hair. Might not have to loosen the bolts off a hair, but it does not take much adjustment. They say if you see it move, you've gone too far. I was aiming for 1 or 0.5, so I gotta go back a bit. And we're back at 0 again, so I'd say 0 is fine. A bit positive, you might have a slight more power, and I think negative, you might be a little bit better on fuel, so 0's fine. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't a bad cam sensor. So I'm gonna retorque those bolts, put everything together, and just double check coolant here once it's up to temp. So that's gonna be the end of this. So thanks for watching and hope it helped.